Hello, everybody. It's 2020, and we're finally back from coronavirus to do our first real Drunkview. I guess we did Scoob, but this is our first movie we saw in theaters in a long ass time. And it's the 2017, now 2020 film, New Mutants.
This isn't a hospital, it's a cage.
It's important we find out your power so we can help you get better.
So, Aidan, what's the plot of New Mutants?
In New Mutants, 5 young mutants get put in a thing for mutants.
I guess like a asylum, prison thing? Hospital?
Hospital, mental hospital, I don't know. And they are under the care of scientist mutant lady.
He secretly works for Essex Co., which is run by Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, apparently John Hamm was going to play Mr. Sinister in the sequels that are never going to happen. But the new girl, whose name is
Moonstar or something, yeah,
something like that. She's Native American. Her mutant ability is to manifest people's nightmares as things, and they attack them.
Or whatever.
And the scientist lady works for Mr. Sinister, and she's like, "You're too dangerous." And then all the mutant kids learn to become friends, and they do the power of friendship to save the day. So, what did you think of New Mutants?
I think New Mutants is probably a strong contender for worst X-Men movie. The Fox X-Men franchise really went out on a whimper, and I think that's the way it should have gone. I mean, Dark Phoenix would have been a bit of a whimper, but they really wanted to come out with one more terrible film before they were done. I don't know why this was released, because it honestly feels unfinished. There's so much.
Definitely unfinished.
There's so much shit in it that's choppy. You know what I'm saying? There's one part where, okay, so basically the girl from Game of Thrones is a lesbian with the Native American or whatever. She's carrying her, and then she hands her off to the Brazilian handsome guy who has fire powers, and he's like, "No, I can't take her. I'll burn her up." She's like, "You have to take her." And then he takes her, and they walk inside, and then she's like, "Give her to me." And he passes her right back. I'm clearly there's some reshoot issues, but there's also some serious editing problems, because if they cut out that exchange and cut from her running to the door and then all of a sudden they're inside, that would have been less choppy than the weird pass off thing. I'm guessing that was part of the reshoots. This movie is really first off, all the characters are kind of introduced once, but none of them are very memorable with their names. I can call them by the stereotypes. There's the fucking Russian girl that got raped by Slender Man.
It's Quasimodo, alien girl,
Indian girl who got raped by Slender Man.
Yes.
And she's
Indian
Russian.
girl,
Fire guy who cries about his girlfriend.
Fire guy, and
Rocket.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. And there's some weird shit too. The Stranger Things guy, he talks in an accent sometimes he doesn't. But his accent is probably one of the worst accents I've ever heard. He's he'll be "I absolutely refuse to do that."
Yeah. In some scenes, he's
the worst.
Southern Cletus, and other scenes he just talks normal.
I'm guessing before the reshoots he was supposed to do Southern Cletus, and then for the reshoots they're okay, this is bad, so stop. But then there's some scenes they forgot to reshoot that were integral, where he's still doing the Southern Cletus, because it is clear. Some scenes he does this horrid accent, and some they don't. The girl who plays Moonstar is a really bad actress.
There's also weird ADR all over the place. It's not constant, but you notice it. It's really badly placed ADR. In the end scene where the Russian girl is fighting the bear, and then one of the characters is "I'm gonna marry that girl," and it's just out of nowhere.
Well, you can also see ADR where the Russian girl's talking, and it's something different that is said than her lips clearly. But the only eventful thing that happens in this movie is the end. So basically the woman captures them into bubbles, and is like, okay, well now I'm taking the air out the bubble, I guess is what the implication is, and she's gonna kill Moonstar or whatever. But then, like, Moonstar manifests her greatest fear, which is a giant CGI bear that kills her, and then the final scene is them fighting a CGI bear that showed up 2 seconds ago and killed our main villain.
See, I think
our main villain wasn't even a threat. They just couldn't because her power is making shields. Like, you can't make a threat against that because 4 of the mutants are overpowered, and then you got the girl that turns into a furry werewolf lesbian. That's it.
I'm pretty sure the bear thing's a reshoot too, because like through the whole thing, Cletus has his hand stuck in the thing, like his hand's sticking out, and he can shoot like rocket blasts out of his hand. So I figured they're gonna do something with that, or he'd like
shoot her,
blast her away or something.
See, I don't.
And then the whole time his hand is like this, sticking out of the shield, and then a giant cartoon bear punches through the wall and eats the doctor lady.
Well, I figure like his hand was out the shield, maybe he's gonna like blow it up, which would like kill the doctor lady and like him or something. But they ended up going with the CGI because
it's really weird.
Because the CGI bear is out of nowhere. First off, it really feels like the Fan Four Stick end scene. But like where Fan Four Stick actually has like good ideas throughout. It's not a great movie, but there's like potential before the CGI fight in some places. This movie had no potential, and then they're like, okay, well, it's a superhero movie, let's just end it with this big CGI fight for no reason. Like, all they had to do was kill the woman and end it, but they were like, okay, well, this movie's boring, so add a stupid CGI bear that comes out of nowhere and you fight. Yeah. I mean, like, they set up the bear a little bit, but it's also like, okay, so like when they're gonna put down Moonstar like a dog, and she's like put on the table, and they're like, put the green Kool-Aid into her thing. And then, like, Wolf Woman has her, like, one moment, like, the wolf, because, like, Moonstar's girlfriend is, like, the Wolf Woman or whatever. She, like, jumps through the vents, and it's set up in one scene, which is really stupid, and obviously was setting something up, because she says, here, let me show you something really cool. And then she, like, climbs through the vents, and they just go outside, and she's like, there you go. It's like, okay, well, why are you setting up these vents? Obviously, they're going to use this for something. Yeah. So I think, like, instead of just having her jump through the vents, because they couldn't think of a creative way for her to break through, because her powers are turning into a werewolf, which, not even a werewolf, a normal wolf, which is a shitty power. Yeah. They were just like, we'll just have her jump through the vents and attack her real quick. So it was like, I don't know. It was a jumbled mess.
Don't forget,
it was really bad.
Before the bears showed up, they get attacked by an army of Slender Man straight out of a creepypasta.
Right. Yeah, it was literally...
Russian girl as a kid was kept in cages and raped by...
Well, she was scared by the smiley face, but obviously the edgy implications that she was raped by Slender Man.
Like, they're like Slendermans. They don't have any eyes, but they have giant mouths and teeth, but they wear smiley face masks over. It's like literally creepypasta too. Yeah. I don't understand what the Russian girl's ability is.
I mean, she can teleport and make the sword.
She can... Okay, no, I get the making the sword thing, kind of. But she has, like, this alternate dimension that she can open portals to.
And then, like, hop out.
And they never explain where it is, like, what it is, or where it is, or why it is. It's, like, this horrible CGI cartoon place that she goes to, like, 4 times.
See, I read, like, one comic book, and she's, like, the leader of the New Mutants. Or, I don't know if she's the leader, but she's, like, an important one. But I think they put her in because she has a cool superpower. That's why she's in the comics. She like runs around with her sword and teleports around. And the problem,
it would look fucking Naruto OC.
It would look cool.
Teleporting behind you, nothing
right,
personal.
But she also has the fucking. She basically her sword is basically Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. She runs around and uses that shit like a lightsaber. Here's the thing though.
And then
like they didn't have the CGI budget to like the CGI budget was bad. I assume that might have been Fox. Disney might have finished up the effects and didn't want to pay much, so it was cheap because it kind of looked like TV CGI.
It looked very unfit.
There was some awkward shit, like when she like jumps through that church window and she like obviously spun with like terrible CGI. It's some really shit like DC tier CGI in this movie.
Also, her powers are really complicated because she can like go to this alternate dimension that's never explained and looks like shit. But at one point, she always carries around this dragon puppet, and then at one point, it just becomes a real dragon for like 2 minutes.
Right, well that's like a real dragon in the comics, so I don't know, like, the dragon might live in the other dimension and she like can hear it in her head and use the puppet. If they like actually bothered to explain stuff so I didn't have to make up a headcanon, because I don't know how you make an hour and a half movie. Nothing goes on for the entire movie. and you have this like complex lore, some of which could have been explained in like the weird flashbacks and stuff. Maybe in the flashbacks when Slender Man's trying to rape her or something, and when she goes under the blanket, maybe a little blue dragon's there and it's like puffing like flames, and then you're like, oh, like is this like an imagination? But then you find out the purple dragon's real. Just like throwing out some ideas to kind of choreograph that this is real, not just I'm crazy, because you're like, okay, maybe she's a mutant, she killed a bunch of people, she's crazy.
They also
and she has the puppet, but now it's like the dragon's real.
They do the most annoying thing because, I'm not saying you got to make it like the Suicide Squad movie where you just have like slideshow of all the characters and explaining what their powers are, but like and their backstories. But like the fire guy looks at a picture of his girlfriend. And then he gets in the pool and he sees like a burnt corpse with titties. And I'm like, oh, that's his girlfriend.
He was kissing the Russian girl.
Yeah, I know. That's not important, but
yeah.
But then he gets out of the pool. I'm pretty sure anyone with half a brain would understand that he burned his girlfriend to death. And then he goes on like a 7-minute rant. He's like, I accidentally burned her to death. And then they show like 8 more flashbacks of him burning her to death and whatever, and it's just like such a fucking waste of time.
You even got like Alabama Man who does like nothing in the movie, and at one point he's looking at I know like their nightmares come true because of Moonstar, which we find out later, but he's like looking, he's like, oh, I killed my parents. Like they do these things where you could choreograph these powers and show us what the powers are. And it would actually be a cool way to explain it without doing the Suicide Squad going out and explaining it.
Yeah.
But then they do these scenes and they're so half-baked. Like the scene, like he's in the mine and then his dad's like, you killed me, and then he like goes back out. Yeah. And like we understand he's a human rocket because there's an awkward scene where he like ties himself to a chain and like starts rocketing around just to be like, this is my power, because we didn't do a good job explaining it.
His dad has like photorealistic blood coming out of his eyes, like a Sonic the Hedgehog creepypasta.
Yeah, this whole movie kind of felt like a 14-year-old's like emo 14-year-old girl's like fanfic book, because you got like Moonstar who's like, I can manifest nightmares and I'm a lesbian and I kiss my best friend who looks like Quasimodo. But then she's also like, and Slender Man came after us. 15 Slendermans are coming after us.
And my spirit bear attacked us.
My spirit bear attacked us,
but then I learned to tame him.
Yeah, I used my spirit to calm down the spirit wolf. Like, it's really fucking shitty. And I assume it would have been shitty in any cut, but I do know
probably.
You can tell the reshoots. And the thing is, like, I'm sure the original cut, like, this movie needed like 2.5 hours if they were really gonna do it, and they really needed to flesh out the flashbacks, maybe make some more shit happen in the movie, and don't just come out with the cop out of like the bear. Like, either go with like the powers, Moonstar's psychological horror. Let's see more flashbacks than just one. I was raped by Slender Man. I burned my girlfriend. I killed my parents. I fucking became Quasimodo, and the priest branded me with a W. And we never found out what the W meant. And she's like, what does the W mean? And we just said it was lesbian, but we don't actually know. They don't explain it. I think she just gets a W. I assume it's like horror or something.
At one point,
maybe it's an M because later it was flipped over, so it's like mutant.
I'm pretty sure what it's supposed to be. When she goes into the church the first time, she like hears the priest or something in her dreams, and he calls her witch or something.
Oh,
so I think
witch.
it's supposed to be witch, maybe.
Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because they are calling her a witch the whole time.
I
don't know.
Them doing setup for the sequels was. Man, you hate to see it.
It's a bad idea.
Because they've set up the Essex Corporation, whatever the fuck it's called, and Mr. Sinister. They're like 5 times. The doctor lady works for the Essex Corporation.
Honestly, like, I didn't...
And they find out about the Essex Corporation. They're like, what is the Essex Corporation? And she's like, you'll find out in a future film, but they're very sinister. It's like, oh my god, just kill me.
Well, like, if they made this movie entertaining and not dog shit, I would actually maybe like the slow burn. Like, it takes a couple movies to ramp up, but you're not going to make a superhero franchise that's successful off of this. Even if this was, like, the best version of this, you can't just have a no-action, like, boring-ass superhero film and expect something to come out of it. Especially when it's written like dog shit. Like, I thought it would be something maybe I would like if it was actually well done, even if it flopped completely.
I was kind of feeling that same thing. Like,
I was like, maybe. They keep making... all, like, 19 poster runs they've had to do with this film every time it gets delayed. They keep putting out cool posters.
there was always
There were
all
cool
that,
posters for this film. That's a positive.
all that talk pre-release about how it was supposed to be like the first superhero horror movie, and this is a horrible horror movie. Fucking terrible.
Right.
Like,
Well, I'm thinking it was more of a horror movie before the reshoots.
It probably
and then they'll,
was.
like, edit out all the horrifying stuff and then add the little fucking bear, but we can still...
ADR some quips in and give him a big bat.
We're fine with rape and rapey Slender Man. That's fine, but anything else is
Like,
bad.
The idea, superhero movies are all like kind of follow the same template, and you know maybe there's something there in exploring the horror superhero concept, but this doesn't do it very well because it's like boring, flashback, army of terrible CGI Slendermans that look like fucking... They look like the bad CGI Leia and Tarkin in Rogue One, where they're all
And
like
then-
rubbery.
I think to make her seem less evil, they're like the 18 men I killed all look the same. So the implications that she killed these Slendermans. So she kind of killed 18 people, but they were demon Slendermans. But I don't understand, what are the fucking demon Slendermans? They never explain that.
Yeah, but there's like there's no goddamn horror element to it either. Like, on the surface, I guess there is, because it's like psychological manipulation and stuff and the worst nightmares. But the Slendermans they look like shitty cartoons and everyone just bodies them. Like, the fucking Russian girl literally just teleports around cutting them in half. Fucking Cletus flies through like 17 of them at once and kills them all. Like, they're not a threat at all. Like,
You know what?
for horror, you have to have like some sense of powerlessness, helplessness.
But these guys are
And
all...
these guys are all fucking overpowered and just completely
The only
shred
thing
the
that was
Slendermans.
scary is Slenderman, but they walk at like zombie speed and we never see them like actually land a hit or anything. So we just know they have a scary face, but they're still super easy to kill.
Yeah.
And then you have the woman who can make shields, but apparently doesn't have any offensive capability except putting them in a bubble and trying to suffocate them. But they broke out of those bubbles basically no problem when the giant evil bear came.
Yeah.
Here's the other problem.
The Slenderman thing too is bad because it's like all you can think of is Slenderman the whole time, and you're just like eye roll because it's like...
Right. It's clearly insert for Slenderman because they're like horror movies Slenderman. What I was going to say is I think one of the major issues with this... Okay, follow me for a second here. You got the X-Men movies, which are pretty hit or miss. And the reason the ones that work, still work, and even the ones that don't work don't have this problem as much, is most of the X-Men, like the core X-Men, have simple powers. Storm. Her name is Storm. You see, she makes lightning and clouds. Cyclops shoots lasers. Wolverine's got claws for hands, and when he gets shot, he does a little bounce back, but then you see his skin heal up. Jean Grey's a psychic. It's easy to follow. But these people have like, okay, you got human guy who becomes like a super... What is he? He becomes a bullet or something? He becomes like a bullet man?
I don't really get his power either because like...
No, it's not well explained. Like, we see he turns into like a laser guy, but he doesn't get
But
used
then
in
at
the
one point he
climax.
shoots like... At one point early on he shoots like a jet blast through a fucking washing machine too.
So that should
like,
be an easy power to choreograph, but it's unclear.
Literally the
And
only
we don't
one...
get much of a grasp on his character because the movie's short and they don't use him. And then you got fucking Russian girl, and her power
She
is
has,
she
like,
can make
17
a
powers.
sword, she can make arm, and she can teleport.
Alternate dimension, bring a
But then it's like
dragon to
alternate
life.
dimension. She's got the dragon. It's like, okay, so it's not well choreographed what her powers are. You got Moonstar, and they're like, she's a super dangerous mutant. And it's supposed to be like a twist. She can manifest the nightmares.
Oh, it's
I don't know if that's
obvious.
something you have to find out earlier or something, but like it's obvious what it is, but it's not super well choreographed, and it's a little too complex to just like not explain it all.
Well, at least
I mean, it was fine.
Moonstar's...
At least Moonstars was kind of a plot line where it's like
Moonstars is like
figuring
the
it out.
crux of the mystery.
Where everyone's
so
like, "What's your
on
powers?"
paper, Moonstars
on paper,
is
but they
okay,
didn't
but-
execute the twist
Yes,
well.
no, it's badly
She's
done.
just like, don't you get that all these nightmares were because of Moonstar? And then the audience is like, yeah, no shit. Like, even the start of the movie, you can kind of tell, but...
Even the wolf girl's power's fucking weird, because
sometimes she's
sometimes
a full
can't
wolf.
control it, sometimes she's like a full wolf. There's like one scene where she's like a wolf monster.
At least...
And then sometimes she just has like wolf claws.
And then like Fire Guy is the same issue where he's like does he break? I mean, it's like he turns into like the Human Torch at one point. Maybe it's just like he's kind of like Human Torch, but he can't control it. I think is the idea. That's the best. That's the one the closest I could like fully grasp what his powers were.
Like his at least mostly made sense. Like he sets himself on fire. He can get really hot.
Right.
He's bad at controlling it. Good. That's clear and understandable to the audience. Naruto teleporting blue-eyed ninja alternate dimension dragon lady
also,
is not apparent.
There's the scene where Moonstar's like running. She's like, I'm gonna escape from this place, and then you just see the CGI wolf running. First off,
that was so confusing.
I was confused at first. I'm like, is this like a racist thing? Like she can summon like the wolf because she's Native American? Well, she can't summon the bear spirit, so it still has the racist Native American thing. But at least it wasn't the wolf. But that was my first thought. I'm like, did she just like summon a wolf spirit? But then it was Quasimodo. But then you're like, why was she even in that scene?
Yeah.
And then she comes
so
back
weird
when she tries to commit suicide. So she was like following him in secret, but then she like climbs up the bell tower.
Well, the thing that makes
Moonstar's about to kill herself, and then fucking Wolf Girl's like, "Hey, don't kill yourself," and then they start making out.
The thing that makes it really horrible is like she's running towards the barrier thing, and the wolf is running behind her. Then the wolf just stops being in the scene. Then after the scene, there's just like a random cutaway of a wolf, and it's just like wolf stock footage.
Right.
And then for the next like 4 minutes, every other scene, it's like they show a scene. And they do an insert shot of a wolf being like...
Right, like, for like the next for the first third of the movie it's that way, and it's like...
Okay. Really, and you don't know at that point.
But they kind of want to make...
They
kind of want to make like everyone's powers a twist, and it's like, no. Choreograph the 4 powers, and if your entire movie's about what is Moonstar's power, make that more of a focus. Make the relationships more of a focus. Because this movie's an hour and a half long, the last 15 minutes is fighting a CGI bear that has... I mean... You know why it's there, but it shouldn't have been there. It was a stupid idea to add it. And the other hour 15 is establishing relationships, which they did a piss poor job of because most of the scenes are just individual characters having spooky things happening, or it's them sitting in a circle and she's like, let's talk about responsibility. They don't even like the teacher lady or a doctor. She doesn't even have anything interesting she does. She just says like, learn responsibility or you're going to get locked down. And the kids are like, okay. And then it's like montages of the kids like dancing around like it's a goddamn Scooby-Doo cartoon or some shit.
One of the big problems, if you're going to have the twist where like all the issues are caused by the new girl, you have to have like all the kids get there at the same time so that there's like an element of mystery, like nobody knows. Because the second she shows up, all this weird shit starts happening. They're all like, it's her. And even in the movie, all the characters are just like, it's her. It's obviously fucking her. And you're still supposed to be surprised that it's fucking her.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the only reason you would think it's not her is because the movie's so poorly choreographed. People are like, this is a weird place, and it like sets up the portal and stuff, so you're like, okay, so this is a weird place. And the only reason it's a twist that all these weird things are happening is because they don't... Like, obviously it's her. It's pretty clear. Like, you have to be dumb not to notice. But the only reason the characters and we would fail to understand that it's her is because the movie's choreographed so bad. Because you're like, this is a weird place where weird stuff happens. But then it kind of just, like, you're like, okay, so is this, like, the doctor lady, like, sending them, like, images or something? I don't know. It's so dumb. It's so poorly choreographed.
The other big issue is the character dynamics, like... Your X-Men movies aren't perfect, but you got your core cast in the X-Men movies. Mm-hmm. And you know how everyone knows each other, everyone kind of likes each other in different ways, there's different friendships going on, different dynamics. In this movie, Quasimodo and the Native American girl are lesbians together. The Russian girl's mean at first, but then just stops being mean later.
Like someone, well, and she starts liking them when the battle scenes happen.
The two guys
aren't characters.
Don't have characters. They just kind of sit around.
One killed their dad and the other killed their girlfriend. That's the character.
There's like
those are their characters.
There's
They're
no
sad
dynamic
'cause they
between
kill
them
people.
or like chemistry or anything.
And they kind of just get control of their powers later too for no reason.
Power of friendship.
They're like, we have control of our powers. We're ready to go back to the real world, even though we like killed our family. We all killed our families. Every one of us have killed our families. So quit asking, okay?
Well, the Russian girl didn't.
Well, she didn't kill her family,
killed
but she killed
Slendermans.
18 Slendermans that used to gangbang her every night. Apparently, that's the implication. My God, this movie was trash.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
fun.
I think we said our thoughts, but I'll just go on. Aidan, do you have any additional thoughts?
I still do think that a superhero horror movie might maybe work at some point. I know they've mentioned it with the new Doctor Strange movie. I doubt it'll come out that way because of Disney, but
Yeah, but it's gonna be a Sam Raimi film, so I think a better idea. Okay, this movie would have worked as a horror movie if they didn't have a shit script and a shit director, because I mean
And a
both
shit
the
budget.
directing, both the budget, the directing, and the writing was shit. I'm not throwing this on the director as like the old, oh, Michael Bay is a bad director, and not blaming like the scriptwriter and stuff. No, the directing is shit, as well as the script, as well as the editing, as well as the budget, as
Yeah.
well as the fact that it was between two studios and Disney just threw it out because why the fuck not at this point?
yeah, it's a sacrificial lamb
It
to
is.
test the waters after all this bullshit.
It is, and it's probably gonna make way too much money because people will be desperate to see a movie and be like, oh, I need to watch something. I guess Tenant's coming out on Monday, but anyhow.
But
Any
yeah,
more thoughts?
that's pretty much what I had to say about it. So yeah, it's bad. I think personally, it's probably tied for the worst X-Men movie. This, Dark Phoenix, and Apocalypse
Dude.
are all on kind of the same shit level. Of
Well,
all
what
being
about The Last Stand and
boring
Origins?
dog shit? Origins is a hilarious shit show. Even the final cut, like if you ever watch X-Men Origins, the work print is way funnier than the final cut, but the final cut's still pretty funny. The Last Stand I haven't seen in years since I saw it on FX in like 2005, so I can't comment
Dark
on it.
Phoenix is kind of boring, but it is. I wouldn't even put it in the same league as like The Last Stand. The Last Stand is just stupid, dude. But anyways, it's the same movie. It's the same movie, but one's a terrible ass like Bryan Singer, but Bryan Singer like quit halfway through to direct Superman, but it's like 50 different directors. It's a shit show.
I don't know, this
and
one
Dark
actually-
Phoenix is just kind of boring.
This one does remind me of Dark Phoenix a lot, where it's like generic, boring garbage, and then at the end, Dark Phoenix had like a random
They fight.
They fight like zombies for some reason.
Right.
And this movie was like boring, generic crap, and then they fight Slendermans. I'd probably put this one slightly below Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse. I do believe that this is actually the worst X-Men movie, which is a tough title to take. So Connor, would you recommend New Mutants?
No, I would not recommend it. I think it's shit. I think this film shows the interesting dichotomy in the X-Men franchise where you have something like Logan, which is a fantastic film. You got some decent ones in there like X2, First Class, and then you have some like this which are just like bafflingly bad. See, I think there's just a category. It's hard to even like categorize because you got like X-Men The Last Stand and X-Men Origins Wolverine, which are their own brand of bad. Then you got Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse, or more in their like boring. Well, I'd put Apocalypse kind of like between the X-Men Origins and Dark Phoenix, kind of bad, which is a little more boring and just bad. And then you got Dark Phoenix, which is just like it's sort of bad. And then I put this in its own like new category where it's not like Last Stand or X-Men Origins, where it's like some sort of like trying to be a really epic movie, but just absolute dog shit in every aspect bad. But like this movie's kind of like in its own bubble of bad, where it's like just boring,
This
and
movie-
then everything is bad. The editing is so bad. The script is so bad. I might actually legitimately think this is the worst, just because
This
like
movie-
at least there's at least there's stuff to praise in other movies. I guess, like, okay, I will praise it. I thought the Russian girl maybe was the best actress in the movie. The other one sucked.
Yeah, she
was fine.
The Russian girl is really good in other
The
stuff.
Alabama
She's really
man's
good
really-
in Split and The Witch.
I mean, she was decent in the movie. She didn't have much to do. She was just kind of mean, and then
Nice.
the Native American girl was really bad at acting. Alabama man, I don't. Okay,
Bad.
his was acting that was bad. He had a bad accent. When he wasn't doing the accent, which I assume were the reshoots, he was an okay actor. But the pre-reshoot stuff, which they edited in, unfortunately kind of throws him under the bus, is also bad acting.
That definitely
New
seems like
Mutants
bad direction over bad
New
acting.
Mutants
to
was bland and felt like a
accent.
character they took out of like Twilight or something. And the fucking Brazilian guy.
He doesn't have
felt-
fucking shit to do.
He felt like kind of a porn star type actor where he's like, oh no, I burned my girlfriend. What am I gonna do about it?
When he opens the pizza box.
Then he opens the pizza box and his dick is hanging out. So yeah, it was really terrible. Don't see New Mutants. I mean, I guess like I was gonna say like, you know, if you really want to spend your money on this, go ahead. Like it's not like you're gonna be like inspiring any bad sequels because this movie's not gonna make money, and it's so shit and it's such a development hell that they're never making a sequel.
No, it's
But-
too late.
But my recommendation is don't waste your money on it.
This movie-
Not for a larger cause. I'm just saying you won't have a good time.
This movie, unironically, feels less finished than the X-Men Origins Wolverine work print. It does not feel like a real movie. It feels like they shot the movie 4 times, took the scenes, took a random different take from each reshoot session.
It feels like
smashed them all together and then hired the cheapest
it feels
CGI
like a
studio
pilot
they
that would
could.
be pitched to like Netflix. Then Netflix would be like, no. like a pilot that would never come out for Netflix.
You know what it seems like?
It's
Hulu
shot like
original.
one.
This
Yeah,
thing
but
would
like
fit
I feel
right
like it's
in.
one that wouldn't have even got picked up by Hulu.
Have you seen the Hulu original?
Yeah, you're
lineup?
right. No, you know what this feels like? It feels like I never watched these shows, but it feels like the free-form Marvel shows, like Cloak and Dagger.
Oh, yeah.
Feels like this show would fit in perfectly with like the Runaways and Cloak and Dagger.
It also, I think I said this in the theater, but it kind of reminded me of Black Mirror, but one of the really shitty episodes. Or
What,
just
but-
most of them, but. Anyway, no, I would not recommend this piece of dog shit.
Okay, bye. Bye. Drunkview back. Actually, I got something to show you guys. If you follow us on Twitter and you send us your personal address, and I promise I won't sell it, your address, I'll ship you out a copy of the Sundance 2005 nominee grand prize Ring of Fire. I have 30 copies of this movie, and you could be the proud owner of one. It would actually cost me more to ship out to you guys than it would cost me to actually like buy this movie. I spent less than 50 cents a copy. So I have 30 copies of Ring of Fire, Sundance Darling, produced by Anchor Bay, or distributed by Anchor Bay Productions. DVD copy, dude. You could have this on your shelf. Ring of Fire, the Emil Griffith story.